Hey Gamer people! So, the Gama trade show was last week, and after watching all the videos and checking out all the announcements and stuff, I made a list of all the games that are interesting to me and that I thought were really cool to look forward to and what's coming out. So, before I get started, I want to do a quick shout out to the Dice Tower, who did a fantastic job on getting everyone to announce all their stuff and do a really professional job. And that's where I got most of my information from, obviously Board Game Geek as well. So while I was just sitting here painting, I've been watching all the shows and listening to all the designers and publishers talking about their games. So these are the 10, because I'll probably mention a few more than 10 games that I thought were really interesting and sounded really interesting. And they can range from different things, from miniature games to family-friendly games to really heavy strategy games. But obviously, being Gama, which is held in Las Vegas, in case you didn't know, and it's a retailers conference, so it's basically where designers and publishers and stuff can show off the new wares and stuff to board gaming media and retailers. So, but because it's the beginning of the convention season and it's set in North America, it's going to be very Ameritrash based, if you like, which is not a bad thing. Obviously, Euros will come later during Essen and that sort of thing. But these are the games that I thought were really interesting. So they're in no particular order. It's not like the number 1 is the best and number 10 is the worst. It's just some games that I like the look of. So the first one I'll talk about, which is the big thing, which was A Song of Fire and Ice by Kumi or Not, or Come On, or whatever they're called now. And it's going to be designed by Michael Chanel, and it's basically a miniatures game. And when I say miniatures game, I mean a tabletop miniatures game. So where you have rank and file troops. It's obviously set on the books from Game of Thrones. It's really interesting. I'm really not shocked, but I'm really surprised that they went down this route, because I mean, obviously Fantasy Flight have announced Ruin Wars, which is basically a rank and file game as well, which is also more similar to X-Wing with the dials and things like that. Whereas this one is straight out, you've got miniatures in a box, comes with rule sets, and you're moving around the board, attacking each other, and that sort of thing. And this is quite a big departure from what they normally do. I mean, Kumi obviously do a lot of good miniature games, but that's not really what they focus on when it comes to the board gaming side. I mean, you've got like the Blood Rage and Zombicide and all those games, which are heavy miniature-based games, but they've got obviously Dark Age and Wrath of Kings, which are straight-out miniature games. So I suppose it's not maybe that big a surprise. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely want to see what they do. I mean, because it's not really a fantasy game, even though there's some fantasy elements to it. Obviously Game of Thrones got some dragons in and some Deathwalkers and things like that. But it's more of a Dark Age sort of straight-out medieval tactical game. So I'm really looking for that. But the other game they also were talking about, which I like the look of, and this is called Banana Bandit. It's designed by Edward Chang, and it's more of a family weight game, so it's not like exactly a big heavy strategy game. You've got a sort of 3D element with the tower, and you've got these little gorillas that are hopping around the tower. Kind of gives me the same feel that Rampage did, so it's very family friendly, not a lot of strategy to it, but it looks really cool. Really draw in some kids and family gamers, and what you're trying to do is basically become the next monk gorilla king, and you have to collect 3 gold gorilla coins. To do that, you beat up the other gorillas, raid the rooms for the coins and stuff like that. So that seems interesting. I'll definitely want to give that a look. Then of course, one of my favourite games, obviously always has loads of expansions announced, and that's Shadows of Brimstone from Flying Frog. They announced some more expansions and stuff. They announced the derelict ship, some components for that, and then also some of the first mission packs, which is the Hellfire Succubi and the Vampire one. I'm really interested in the mission packs. I think they're quite cool, because they add some more creatures and tiles and stuff to the original worlds that are there, i.e. the Caverns of Cinder and just the frontier town and that sort of stuff. But they also have flip sides, which is more tiles for the mine system. And it just gives you a more focused on, for example, if you're doing the Hellfire Succubi and you go to the Caverns of Cinder, you can actually focus a lot on defeating them, and there's loads of cards and tokens and things, as all Flying Frog games do, will be in there, and you can basically just go crazy and just focus your entire mission on that one thing, which is pretty cool. Obviously, the derelict ship sounds already awesome as well. A little portal takes you to a far-fetched, sci-fi ship that's been dead for ages and it's overgrown, and with the plants and stuff that they were growing for oxygen, and the astronauts, undead astronauts walking around. It sounds really cool. I'm really looking forward to playing that. And of course, there's going to be people who really look psyched for that, and then of course people who are going to be annoyed because they've not really delivered everything yet, but they still continue to make more. Then another one that I really like the look of, and this one's actually going on Kickstarter really soon, and this is called Grim Forest by Druid City Games. And it's designed by Tim Eisner, and it's basically you playing family members of the three pigs, and you're having a competition who can build the best houses. So the straw, the brick, and the wood, and that sort of thing. And you're basically using the other Grimm characters, Snow White and Robin Hood, and all those guys to help you and hamper the other players, and that sort of thing. It has some great components. I think Druid City are really going all out for this. You've got the kind of like Santorini style layers of different buildings that you can attach onto as you build them up. It's got a lot of interaction between how you get resources from where you're going. I think this one's good to look out for. So keep an eye out for that. There's Kickstarter soon. So number 4 is Frog Riders, and this is by the combo of Pegasus Spiel, Eggert Spiel, and Stronghold Games, and they're designed by Asgard and Daniel Pedersen, Asgard. I can't even read my own handwriting. Graverand. Sorry if I messed that up. But this one sounds quite interesting. Also another family weight game. This is sort of, you play elf tribes who have a mock tournament once a year where you decide who's the best frog riding squad, and you kind of like checkers. You jumping over frogs, capturing them, and using you can give them back to the owners to get their abilities and things like that. So there's quite a lot of interaction, sort of really tactile game where you got like the frogs bouncing around on these lily pads and stuff. Looks great. I'm hoping it's really good, because I think as a family weight game, I think this could be really cool. And then at number 5 we've got Hotshot from Fireside Games, and this is designed by Justin DeWitt. So this is a co-op game. Quite a few co-op games actually were announced, and this one sounds really interesting. It kind of reminds me of a combination of Pandemic and the other firefighting game, but only based on theme, really. Where you play very elite firefighting squad. It's more against wildfires, out on the mountains and those type of things. And each person who's playing plays a specific role. So you could have like the guy who operates the radio operator, and the guy who operates the heavy equipment, that sort of stuff. But there's a lot of factors that happen during the game. The wind could move the flames along, and electric wires get caught up, that sort of thing. And as the tiles get completely scorched, you lose any opportunity to rekindle them, if you like. But what's really cool is that your ability as a specific firefighter is tied to some tiles. So, for example, if you're the radio operator and the radio tower gets burned and destroyed, then you no longer have an ability, and you're just a bog standard firefighter, which I think sounds really cool, because not only are you trying to work together to obviously stop the fire and deal with all the events that are happening, but you're also having to try and protect your own tile so that you don't lose your ability. It's also a dice placement game, I believe. So that really sounds really interesting. I'm really, well, not dice, push your luck, well, with dice. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's going to look cool, and really cool as well. Got a cool little tokens that go on top, like sculpted tokens. So I'm really looking forward to that. Number 6 is Spirit Island from Greater Than Games, and this is designed by Eric Roos. So this is another co-op game, but this one, instead of like where it's more of a thematically different. It's like we played spirits on a faraway island where this magic still exists, and colonists, and apparently you can adjust the level, so you can have just generic colonists, or you can actually have a specific colonist, like the British or the Polish, Portuguese, that sort of thing. And they all have different abilities that they do. They'll come to the island and they're trying to colonize it, build towns and cities and roads and harvest the resources from the land and stuff. And as of course as natural spirits, we're not in agreement with this sort of thing. So we have to kind of work together to either scare them off and destroy their cities and stuff like that. Sounds interesting. It's a little bit different, especially theme-wise. Looks great as well. You've got this really interesting way the map builds together, so you can have different amount of players. There's also advanced difficulties, so you've got like the basic map, and then you can flip the board over, and it has a very specific geographic map. So it's a lot more interesting to look at, but more difficult to play. So I'm really interested in that. I think that looked really interesting. And obviously, I mean, I don't know a lot about Greater Than Games, but I know they did the superhero card game, which is the only thing I can think of. So this is a little bit of a departure from that. So number 7. Now this one's interesting because this one, I've got 3 games here from the same company, and all 3 of them, well, one of them's an older game that they've taken over, but the other 2 are new games that sound really good. And considering the game that I know that they made, which was King's Abbey, which also looked really great. This is Breaking Games, by the way. This is a really, all of a sudden a load of cool games coming from a new company, which is really cool. The first one I want to talk about is Rise of Tribes. This is designed by Brad Brooks, and it's a prehistoric civ building game with hex tiles and dice placement mechanics, and it looks great. I love civ building games, so there's always going to be a draw to that. And I also like hex, exploration games. Like, oh, that's really cool. And with this one as well, what's interesting, the way you do actions, the way I understand it, is that you have a certain amount of dice on your turn. You roll them, and then you put them into the bracket, and it pushes out the dice at the back that's already placed there. So those are the actions you're going to get. And then of course you're trying to build up your prehistoric civilization, gaining new technologies and stuff like that. That sounds great. I'm really up for that. But they also announced a new game, and this game I don't know who designed because I couldn't find this on Board Game Geek. But this is called Expand City, and it's a city building game. And I like city building games too. And this one is really interesting. Apparently it's got really good artwork on the tiles, and you place this tile grid system out for the city. But then as you're building the city and expanding it outwards, you're also building it upwards. And it has a kind of like a Lego style where you click on these buildings for the skyscrapers as they get bigger and bigger, and you expanding the city and gaining more influence, which sounds really cool as well, and look really cool. Look, there's the friggin' city's building up and wider and bigger, and it just look cool. I hope it's good. I really do. And then the third game I want to mention from them, and this is not a new game, this is Asking for Troubles. They've taken this over from the previous company that had it. And what's more is, I mean, the previous company who had it ran out of printing, so it's been out of print for ages, but they did a great job with the components and stuff. But the game did cost around about $65–70 bucks. Now, apparently, they've taken this over. They've kept the majority of the components as good as it was before, so all the ships are different, with the great orange figures and everything. They made some of the tokens and stuff, normal tokens as opposed to wooden pieces, I think. But they dropped the price point from like $70 to $45–50, something like that. So that's fantastic. The fact that they got a new printing for running, which is great, because I haven't got a copy and I really wanted to get a copy, and it's really hard to get hold of one. The fact that they made it cheaper is really great as well, and that they've kept the same standard components predominantly, that's really cool as well. So Breaking Games has really got my attention, and I'm looking forward to the rest of this year to see what else they produce, and finally hopefully get King's Abbey to the table as well. Alright, so this one, number 8, this one's an interesting one for me, because I like the idea of the theme, and I like what they were talking about during the interview and stuff. But their previous game, this is by Lone Shot Games, and it's called Apocrypha. Previous game, which is Pathfinder, the card game. When I played that for the first time and the second time, I kind of liked it. I thought it was really good. I liked the idea, and I had fun while I was doing it. But as we played it more and the campaign got on a bit, I started losing a lot more interest in it really quickly. By the time we got to the 6th or 7th time we played, I was completely bored. I mean, I thought the game was so repetitive, and there was just no real decision making whatsoever. I thought that your hand of cards didn't really change all that often. I just didn't enjoy it. I know a lot of people enjoy it. Like one of my best friends, Mike, he loves it. They play it all the time. So obviously, and they did tons of expansions. So there's tons of people out there who do like but it wasn't for me, and I don't think it was for my group either. Martin, who owned it, he traded it off pretty soon after, and the guys we played with, none of them wanted to play it anymore. Anyway, they got a new game coming out called Apocrypha, which is either co-op or one versus all kind of game, so you can choose which way you want to play it. The players play as a saint who can see evil things like werewolves, vampires, etc., etc. The downside is, of course, they can see you too, and therefore will be trying to attack you, because they are trying to bring about the apocalypse of the world. And there's loads of apocalypses to choose from, or so you can have a different random experience, every time you play. But also the same sort of similar thing where you play as your character and you're developing up, gaining new cards into your deck, and using your deck as your life, that sort of thing. At least that's what gist of what I got. Now I'm hoping this is good, because they seem to be really, they've pushed the art on this, and they've got the theme and everything going, and they want to support it. I think they said for the first year they're going to be doing, every day they're going to be doing some sort of event on their website that affects the cards that you already have in the box. So for example, they said, like, for example, Easter Day, if you play a certain card on Easter Day, it'll be different to the day you played it before or the day you played it after. So they'll put the event up on the website affecting those cards. That sounds pretty cool. I like the idea of that they've got a really interesting support system going for it, and obviously they'll bring out expansions for it and stuff like that. So that seems like a lot of support for the game, and they've put in a lot of effort into, you know, buffing up the game as good as possible. And I'm hoping they learned, obviously, from the Pathfinder system. So I'm hoping that works better for us, and, you know, as a system. Number 9 is a Games Workshop game. Obviously, I'm a big miniature guy. I do painting for a living, and you know, I play all sorts of games with anything with figures and stuff. So Games Workshop was bound to make it, but it's they announced a few things, and the one that was interesting me the most was the Shadow Wars Armageddon. For a couple of reasons. One, obviously, kind of a theory that it's going to be sort of like a Necromunda-esque or Kill Team-esque game, you know, where you have smaller squads and you build up experience and that sort of thing. So that's cool. I really enjoy that sort of type of game anyway. But also the scenery and the figures that come in their box. The figures I'm not too bothered about. You know, you've got Space Marine Scouts and the Orcs. Neither of those factions are really that interesting to me, but apparently they're going to have 12 other factions that will ship at the same time. But the scenery in their box is amazing, and I can use that for a lot of other games as well. I mean, other than just standard 40k, and this game as well. You can use it for Dead Zone and for Urban War, any of those type of sci-fi style games, and various other, you know, skirmish-based games like Rogue Stars, those type of things. So that's really cool. Now, of course, I don't know who the designer is, because Games Workshop is just Games Workshop. And then the last one I want to talk about is Escape from 1 Million BC from IW Games. It was designed by Kevin Wilson. And this one sounds really cool as well. So the map that they showed looked very reminiscent of sort of Terra Mystica style map. And what's happened is you're a time-traveling team in a spaceship that's crashed onto prehistoric Earth, so dinosaurs and volcanoes and everything like that. The ship has crashed and it's taken a lot of damage, and somehow in this prehistoric world you're going to find the resources you need to repair the ship. And unfortunately, you crashed really near a massive volcano that's going to blow soon and destroy this entire area, so you need to get the hell out of Dodge. But you need to find the resources, you need to defend yourself against the dinosaurs that are attacking, and you need to rescue time paradox castaways. So as things are changing and there's these paradoxes and portals that are opening and flinging out major people from previous time travel, like Roosevelt and Newton and all these guys. So that theme was really crazy, sounded really cool. I like the idea that it's also another co-op game, which I think could be cool. It just seemed interesting. It's different. I like the idea of the hex map and doing all the things that are going on, and there's people coming from the different time periods. That sounds crazy. So those are basically the 10 to 14 games that I took notice of during the Gama trade show. There was a lot of other games mentioned that they showed off. I mean, there was hundreds of people there, all doing all the different types of stuff that they do. Talking about games they've already released and stuff that's coming out in the future, stuff that's going to Kickstarter, that sort of thing. One of my favorite games that I played this year, Clank, from Renegade Studios. They announced quite a few games as well, and they were kind of toying with the idea. I mean, they didn't say it straight out, but they did sound like they were going to announce a new expansion for Clank, which would be really cool. And that would be really quick on the heels of already the Sunken Treasures one. So, that's me enough rambling on about Gama. This is the beginning of the convention season, so there's going to be tons of other conventions coming up. I mean, there's a Adepticon next week, which is more of a miniature type one. And then we've obviously got Gen Con and the UK Games Expo and Essen. So there's going to be tons and tons of stuff coming out for the rest of the year in the gaming world. And it's a really exciting time to be a gamer. So thanks for checking out this video. Let me know if you enjoyed it or not, and what games you're looking forward to by the comments below. And see you guys at the table. Yeah, that's my